Hello, my name is Addie and I am a 7th grader. One thing I like about the middle school is its lunch, so I can talk with my friends and go on my phone. You're listening to the SM Way podcast.
Welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of the SM Way podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Bader, the Communication Coordinator for the district. It's a new school year and an exciting time for our students and teachers. For a group of teachers in South Milwaukee, it's really a new year because it's their first year. For some, it's their first year as a teacher. For others, it's the first in our little city on the lake. Today we'll hear from two of them and what led them to teaching in the first place and how they got here. First, we'll hear from Emily Dolge. She's a first-year teacher at Rawson Elementary School. She's a South Milwaukee alum, and her classroom is right next to the room she herself sat in as a first grader at Rawson Elementary School. Then we'll hear from Justine Lesperance, a veteran teacher of 13 years who's from Wisconsin originally and spent time teaching in Florida and chose South Milwaukee specifically to bring her family back to. And finally, we'll talk to Human Resource Director Jennifer Seeloff about hiring at South Milwaukee, how we stack up to area districts in terms of the number of people we need to hire, and how Wisconsin stands out from the rest of the nation when it comes to finding quality teachers. It's going to be a great episode and a great school year. Let's hear from Emily. Today I want to introduce you to one of our newest teachers in the district. Her name is Emily Dolge. Emily, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
So tell me about your first week here. It's not really your first week. You just told me you've been in your classroom, but first week, yeah, kind of.
So my first week here has been a little surreal. I attended Rawson Elementary when I was a student in kindergarten, and I had continued down the 15th Ave, going from Rawson to the middle school to the high school. So I was a 2018 graduate, now an alumni coming back to South Milwaukee. So my first week here has been a little crazy, being a student and now coming in as a staff member, going through new teacher week and learning all of the programs and some of the curriculum that I used when I was a student, now learning how to teach that curriculum and collaborating with those individuals and being on the other side of things has been eye-opening, something I never expected I would be doing.
What are you teaching this year?
I am going to be a first grade teacher at Rawson Elementary.
Oh, okay. And were you ever in the room that you've been assigned as a first grade teacher?
So that was something that my family asked me first. When I found out that I was going to be teaching first grade, the classroom that I was in was the middle classroom out of the three. And the middle classroom was a classroom that the teacher currently occupying was going to be moving from. So one of their questions was immediately like, oh my gosh, are you going to be in the classroom that you learned in as a first grader? And it turned out that I am not in that classroom this year. I am in the one next to it, which I am okay with because I think that would have been very crazy for me to have learned in that classroom. And even now, when I walk in that classroom, I can still picture where my first grade teacher had the posters, where I sat, where our rug was. And with new technology and stuff, things have moved around, and there are new smartboard TVs and stuff that are in the classroom, so it's not exactly how it looked. But I am thankful that I can still be in that first grade group where I grew up, but I am not in the same room that I grew up in. And I get to kind of make my own in a different classroom, but still feels like home.
Yeah, sure. Do you have any memories of share, I know you do, share a memory of being a student at Rawson?
So the one thing that I remember from being a student at Rawson was that my teachers always had my back. They always had my best interest in mind. And even when I was having a hard time with friends, because growing up and being little and trying to learn and navigating friendships while also sports and outside activities is really hard. So I always remember that my teachers had my best interest in mind. And I remember, I have so many great memories from Rawson. I was a student when I was younger who loved to talk. I was very chatty. I wanted to get to know everyone. And that would often get me in trouble. And so because I love to talk, I always felt like what I was saying was so much more important than even what we were learning right now. So I would get a lot of reminders that I would need to stop talking and listen and participate in what we were doing in class. And I remember as I got older, something just instantly clicked, and I had a few teachers. Mr. Gaynor was definitely one who helped me switch that mindset of like, I'm a chatty kid to I am chatty and I am a leader. So there were so many mentors that I had, and I don't think there was one teacher that I had at Rawson that I didn't love. But they all, in their own ways, made me the person I am today in being a leader and valuing others' opinions and cherishing what other people can bring to the table and not being so independent, but also valuing my independence and letting me share the wealth with everyone.
Wow. Interesting. And what made you want to be a teacher, and when did you know?
So I knew that I wanted to be a teacher probably in first grade, actually. It was very early on. I had also attended a daycare that was it started as an in-home daycare and has moved to a bigger center. So it's very family oriented. I went there as a kid, and then as soon as I started going to school and I was school aged and I didn't need as much care as I used to, I started doing the caring for the other kids, and I loved being in charge. So I think I think that was something that really made me want to be a teacher, not necessarily the being in charge part, but I loved taking care of other people. And I feel like as I went through school, I developed that personality of I want to help you, and I want to take you out into the hallway and help you with this multiplication problem that you're struggling, which is really what my teachers saw in me, and they used my advantages, how do I say this? They used what I was good at, and they used it to their advantage to help other students in the room. So throughout my elementary school, I was the student, and then they also gave me so many opportunities to be the teacher. And I think that's what really, being given those opportunities is what really made me want to be a teacher, because I loved that so much.
What kind of teacher do you want to be?
I want to be the kind of teacher that students are excited to go to school. I know that sometimes that's not the case anymore with school, and things are hard for students, and I recognize that. And I want to be the classroom where my students can come into and they know that I value them, they know that they are important, they know that they're unique in their own way, and they all bring something special to the table. And I want students, of course we want students to learn, but students can't learn unless they feel welcomed and safe and accepted. So above all of the learning, students will learn. And I will make it my mission to make sure to meet those students where they are at. But above all else, I want to make sure that my students come into my classroom every day knowing that I love them and they are safe and they are welcomed and they are respected in our classroom.
How many students do you have? Do you know yet?
I believe that we are at 18 right now, but with they are just finalizing some late enrollments and stuff like that. So I'm expecting anywhere from like 18 to 22 students, and we have more than enough room in that classroom to accommodate for those students. So right now I'm planning for 18, but kind of expecting maybe more will join.
Yeah. Well, before I ask that, tell me about becoming a teacher these days. So, like, where'd you go to college, and what was it like? What did they teach you?
So I attended college at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. It was close to home, so I could do college and also stay at home and maintain those relationships with the community that I lived in and also neighboring communities that I had done other things into. So that was something that I really valued, being able to go to a college that would allow me to maintain those relationships that I had built at home. So going through college, I really loved it. I had built so many great relationships and teachers that are starting their new classrooms now that I know are going to be amazing and had helped me through my program. So when I went to UWM, I graduated with a degree in early childhood education. And throughout that, there were a lot of field experiences that I had in different communities and school districts. I was in MPS for a little bit. I was in Brown Deer. I was in West Dallas. And there was never a school that I was at that I didn't love and I didn't learn something from. So whether it was the most amazing cooperating teacher in class I had ever experienced, or it was a class that had more challenges, whatever it was, I had learned something from it. And coming from a daycare background, working in a daycare while I was also going through college, I already had that solid foundation of how to work with and reach students. So that was something that I really relied on and that I helped my other colleagues through too. So after graduation, I was a building substitute at a school in Greendale, which once again I loved and I learned so much from. Being a building substitute, I got experience with all different types of students, from 4K all the way up to 5th grade, and also special needs students. And I really got to wear every single hat in the school. I was a paraprofessional, I was a special ed teacher, I was a general education teacher, I was a gym teacher. So I got to do so many things. And through that, I really learned that my sweet spot was 1st and 2nd grade. I found myself getting super excited whenever I was assigned a 1st or 2nd grade position for that day. And so as soon as I saw the position open here for South Milwaukee for 1st or 2nd grade, I was like, yep, this is meant to be. I have to apply for it. This is in my hometown. I had loved everything about going to Rawson and attending that grade school, and I had no doubt in my mind that the other 3 grade schools were going to be exactly what I wanted and exactly what I loved as well. So going through that interview process, I was interviewing for multiple positions at many different school districts with the opening positions. And soon after that, I received a call from the principal at Rawson. And that was like, oh my gosh, this is meant to be. I cannot turn this down. This is the school that I attended. This is everything that I had dreamed of. I loved going to Rawson so much, and I was so honored that Rawson was the first school to call me and offer me that position, and to be able to have the opportunity to make that difference where my teachers made a difference in me. So my schooling experience was incredible. I had learned so much through college. There were ups and downs. It was so difficult. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, going through schooling and working and paying for college and things like that. And nowadays that is not easy. So that was so hard, but I learned so much about myself and so much about the profession. And I really learned through this process that this was where I was meant to be.
So the powerful thing about having new teachers is that you come with the latest ideas, the latest evolution of what it is to be a teacher. What don't we know? What don't our listeners know about teaching now? What are you bringing to us?
So there are so many things. Education is ever changing. When I graduated back in December, new things were probably even taught to the students that just graduated now in May. But I think the biggest thing that new teachers bring to schools is a new, refreshing, positive energy. And we are working alongside teachers who have been doing this for 20, 30 years and are ready to retire. So it's so special that we can share our new positive energy and our new outlook on life and education with the veteran teachers who come with that wealth of knowledge. And we can share those experiences and really learn from one another. So whether you're a first-year teacher or this is your last year before you're retiring, there is so much that we can learn from each other. But coming from college, I think we really talked about the importance of getting to know your students and building those relationships with them, because especially nowadays, students come from a wide range of backgrounds and different life experiences, and especially in South Milwaukee with the mobility that students have, it's so important that from day one you start to build those relationships. As a student, that was something that my teachers always did with me. I always felt welcomed. I always felt safe. So from everything that I had learned in college and through fieldwork, relationships was the most important thing. Making sure that the second your students walk in your door, they know that you're there for them. They know that you appreciate them. They know that you understand them. And they know that no matter what happens, no matter what struggles they go through, you are there for them and you are rooting for them. Now, in terms of like academics, we have really done a lot of work with literacy, especially. And through a lot of my field work, we were really working on intervention programs with students. So in some of my classrooms, we had students that didn't know how to read, and then we had students that were reading at a 5th grade level. And that is especially nowadays something that we see a lot in classrooms. And so we have learned so much about how to reach students wherever they're at and to continue to challenge those students that are very advanced and continue to challenge those students that are still learning how to read. So making sure that everybody gets what they need. And with intervention programs, really using that important phonics component and the phonemic awareness and making sure that students know where the sounds come from and what letters make those sounds and how to manipulate words themselves and hear them and see them, and then really be able to apply that to their reading and writing. So making sure that all 3 of those components, the phonics, the reading, and the writing, are all incorporated in their intervention programs in small group instruction to make sure that you give students the instruction that they need.
You'd mentioned relationships, and one thing that I know the district is focusing on this year is building a group of peers. You've come in now, you're kind of in a new class, the class of 2023 with new educators. What was that experience like? Have you gotten to know some of those other new teachers in your building? Do you feel part of a group?
Absolutely. So coming in as a first-year teacher, it is very intimidating coming into a group of teachers and a school community that is already established. So that was something that was definitely a big concern of mine. And coming in a little bit later, there was some change in staffing, and we had realized that there would be another first grade teacher hired in the room next door to me. So in that middle room that I attended was going to be another new first grade teacher. As soon as she was hired, she had reached out and wanted to introduce herself, and she mentioned that she just graduated in May. And this was something that I was so relieved about. She was also a first-year teacher, and she was going to be going through the same experiences that I am going through. And especially as a first-year teacher, there's a lot to be learned. There are a lot of new things that we haven't learned through field work. And it was going to be so nice to be able to go through this experience with someone who was experiencing it as the same time I was. Mm-hmm. So Grace and I have been in our classrooms now for about 3 weeks, setting them up. We came in as early as we could to get a jump on things. She has met so many of my family members who have been in my classroom helping me out. I have met so many of her family members. And really, we have been able, even in the first few weeks, to lean on each other and ask each other questions and start to brainstorm about what we want with our students, alongside our veteran teacher who has been here for a long time, giving us those ideas, sharing her supplies with us, giving us some insight on what works with her students and what won't work. So I can say that already, not even going through our district-wide professional development, just the new teacher week and just meeting my staff in my Rawson building, I already feel so comfortable. I feel like I belong. I feel like they value what I have to say. They are interested in the new things that I am bringing to the Rawson and the South Milwaukee community. And it has been so refreshing to walk in and to see a smile on someone's face. And even if I haven't met them, they say hi, they introduce themselves. Especially this week with more of the teachers coming back to set up their rooms. I've had so many teachers come into my room and take a peek, talk about what they love, even take pictures of it for inspiration for their classroom. And that has been so refreshing, just to feel like I'm valued, even though they don't know much about me yet. They haven't seen me teach. They don't know any of my credentials or any of my experience, but knowing that I was hired in that position because the South Milwaukee School District values their employees so much, they know that because I was hired, I'm meant to be there. And I am good at what I do. And they value what I have to say. And as for the new teachers that I have met, it has been a great week that I've had with all of them. I have met so many new teachers that are also first-year teachers, but are also coming from other school districts that maybe I did some field work in, and we know mutual friends and things like that. And everybody is coming from different experiences, but everybody is going through this experience together, and we just all want each other to succeed. So they have been so helpful and understanding. We've exchanged so many phone numbers of people that I had never met before, and now are sharing pictures of our classrooms and ideas that we have. So it's just really a big melting pot of ideas and success and triumphs. And that's really what South Milwaukee is, celebrating the positives.
So, last question. Is your mom and dad going to take a picture on your first day of school?
Oh my gosh, absolutely, they will. That was something that my mom said immediately. She was like, I can't wait to take a picture of you on your first day of school next to the big Rawson sign out on Rawson Avenue. And she was like, you know what, I think I need to look through some of my pictures and pull out your first day of first grade picture at the Rawson sign for all of my students to see.
Oh my gosh, that would make a great Facebook post. You definitely have to share that with your social media
absolutely
coordinator.
would.
That'd be so awesome. Well, Emily, thank you so much for being here. This is great. Great to hear your experience so far.
Thank you so much for having me.
Next, we're going to hear from Justine Lesbrance, the newest second grade teacher at Blakewood Elementary School. Justine Lesbrance, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me about your first 2 weeks being here in South Milwaukee.
Immediately, I felt welcome to not just the school, but the community here. It seems like such a tight-knit community with so much history, and I knew that before I was coming back, but just coming to new teacher orientation and even meeting with my building principal before that at SLT, I really felt like I belonged here, and I felt welcome, and I felt like my voice was heard, and that was really great.
And you're a new teacher to us, but you're not a new teacher. How long have you taught?
I've been teaching for about 14 years. I was in the Milwaukee area for about 1 to 2 years, and then my husband had to relocate because of his job, and so then I was in Florida for the last 12 to 13 years, and I'm coming back home, so that's really exciting.
What brought you back to Wisconsin?
So we had our first child in May, and we both had been wanting to kind of get out of Florida for a while, but having our first child brought us back home so she could meet and know her family, because most of our family is up here, and so we wanted her to have that experience.
Is your husband a South Milwaukee alum?
He's not a South Milwaukee alum. He grew up in this area because his grandparents lived in South Milwaukee, worked for Bucyrus, and so he was very close with them. He did go to Lakeview for pre-K, got his first haircut here, and spent quite a bit of time here as a child.
You have connections to here. You have folks that live nearby, right?
Yeah, they live in West Bend, but when I was in college and after college, I lived on the south side of Milwaukee, and so I'm very familiar with the area and love it down here.
You're our newest second grade teacher at Blakewood. What are your hopes for the year?
I'm just really excited to get to know my students and to help them grow. I think what I loved is the district and their equity focus is awesome, because I think in the classroom you can really, really challenge your kids and create a great community when you're thinking with equity in mind and meeting all the kids where they're at and what they need. So again, like having that in my classroom community, watching my students learn but persevere through those struggles and holding them to high expectations. And when that light bulb goes on for somebody who's been struggling with a concept, that's like really rewarding, and I can't wait to see that this year.
Yeah. What do you like most about working with students?
So, school was not easy for me as a child. I was a really different learner, and watching and remembering the struggle I had gone through as a child. Initially, I wasn't going to be a teacher. I was going to be a lawyer, and I started teaching swim lessons, to make money to pay for college, and watching some of my struggling kids and thinking about, okay, what can I do so they do learn, how to swim, because I wasn't getting through to all of them. I loved how my brain worked when I was able to do that. And then I thought, you know what? My experience in school growing up was so terrible. I can make it better for kids. And so in doing that and really getting to know kids and understanding how I can help them learn, that's what I love about kids. I love their resiliency. I love that they are positive and they're willing to overcome challenges. Sometimes as an adult, it's harder to change minds, but as a kid, if you can get through to them, it's a wonderful thing.
That's Justine Lesperance, newest second grade teacher at Blakewood. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
So those are two of our newest teachers here in the district. But what you probably don't see in those new teachers is the vast amount of work that went into finding them and bringing them here. Here to kind of talk about that a little bit is our Director of Human Resources, Jen Seeloff. Jen, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
This kind of marks this new teacher welcome week and the beginning of school kind of marks the end of your busiest season, right?
Right. Our hiring season really starts in February and March and goes all through the summer. So our principals are busy. We're busy here in the HR office helping the principals find candidates and move forward to our new teacher week, which was last week, and all staff came back this week.
Yeah. And who are our new teachers? They were an energetic group, but you have some stats about them. Who are they?
They're really interesting. We have teachers who have their first job will be with us here in South Milwaukee, to teachers who have been in the profession for over a decade. We have some South Milwaukee graduates who will be starting with us. We have one teacher who actually did her student teaching in Alaska. We have teachers moving back to Wisconsin from neighboring states and from southern states. We have one teacher who was a teacher in South Milwaukee and is now returning to us after a year's break, so that's great to see. And some of our new teachers have actually worked for us for many years as either a paraprofessional or a substitute teacher, or maybe they even student taught here last year. So we're really excited to have all of them here.
Sure. So we've probably all heard and read in the media that it's harder and harder, or the workforce to find teachers is tougher than it's been. What are some of the things that we've had to do to adjust, or what's the climate right now for hiring teachers?
All across the state, it's been harder to hire teachers the last several years. Education's not a lot different from many other professions in the workforce that's out there right now. So we do things such as our advertising. We go to job fairs. We do word of mouth. We talk with contracted agencies. We do references from others in the district and out of the district to try and find just the right candidate for us here in South Milwaukee.
Yeah, I have to say, our superintendent said that two South Milwaukee people called her and told her to apply for our job. And Emily Dolge, who we heard from the beginning, said that she chose to come here because we called her first. That shows the kind of work that goes behind the hiring process.
Yes, we really need to, with the shortage in educational staff members, we really need to start as soon as we can and get our information out there. So that's a big part of the hiring process.
Yeah. Is South Milwaukee any different than some of our surrounding neighbors?
We're actually very similar. As I talk with other HR directors in the Milwaukee area for local school districts, everyone's in pretty much the same position. That candidate pools are smaller. We're really trying to find ways to set ourselves apart in South Milwaukee to be the school district of choice and really look for the candidates that want to be here. And we think that we have a lot of things going on here that makes us a great place to be.
Yeah. You must have an interesting perspective on Wisconsin in general? What's the climate for teachers or finding teachers in Wisconsin?
Well, we're really unique as a state because we have WeCan, which is an online applicant tracking tool, and pretty much every school district in Wisconsin uses it. There are some that use other methods as well, but really it's an applicant system just for Wisconsin education systems. And we are the only one that I'm aware of in the nation that was created by people who work in school districts to hire people who work in school districts. So it's a really unique system.
Sure. So we hear a lot about teaching these days. What's your take on the profession?
Teaching can be a really challenging job, but it is incredibly rewarding. If that is something that you feel that you would have a really good knack for, or something that interests you, I highly encourage people to think about education as a profession, whether you're a high school student or a college student looking for that right track for you, or maybe even a second career that's out there. It's a great place to make a huge impact and be involved in your community.
Great. Well, Jen, thank you again for taking your time. I know it's still the busy season for you, so I appreciate you being able to come in. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for this week's episode of the SMY podcast. Thanks for listening. Everyone in the district hopes our students have a great first month of school. We're certainly looking forward to seeing them in class. Good luck, too, to our newest teachers, the SM Proud cohort of 2023. Great things are going to come out of their enthusiasm and energy. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.